So Paul, that we get people all the time that hit us up and they say, "Hey, I want to go see this house or that house." I mean, I've got friends, family, strangers, "Oh, I've seen this house here or there. I want to go check it out." We're like, "Hey, well, no problem. We'll get you in. Have you done a buyer consult?" No. Have you talked with a mortgage lender about a pre-approval? No. All right. Well, these are the first steps you need to take. Paul, can you kind of talk about why it's so important to make sure that these buyers are taking these steps and really what goes into it? What type of information do you need?
Sure, absolutely. Great question. I mean, as you know, in this market in particular, being pre-approved is key, is crucial because when you look, a house, open house on a weekend, if you don't have a letter in hand, if you like that property, you need to put an offer in probably that day or the next. If you want to wait until, I'll get pre-approved, get back to them. By the time they get back to you, they're already under contract, most likely.
Good point. Yeah.
And so that's something that I always say, have your ducks in a row. I mean, have your buyer consult done, have your, pre-approval in hand. And so, the pre-approval itself, people have a misconception. Everyone says, "Oh, what does pre-approve really mean? I can just go online and type in a few things and a company will print a letter out and say I'm good." Well, you know what? In theory, yeah, you could go online and plug in tell them what you make and what you think your credit score is and, how much money you can put down. But if no one actually talks to you and verifies the information, what is that piece of paper really worth? And I see that a lot in this market. "Oh, I already got one." Okay, they didn't ask me for tax returns or pay stubs. Then how do they pre-approve you? So my point here is, the pre-approval itself is about sitting down with someone, explaining what your expectations are. One of the questions I feel like I always ask is, where do you want your monthly payment to be? Not how much you can afford. Because you could afford $1 million home, but if you want your payment to be X and Y dollars, and maybe, all right, you're looking at houses that are 500,000. And that to me is more important than just saying what you can pre-approved for, because some people don't want to make a payment that high. Some people might want to be in a certain price point. It's up to you to figure that out and ask the question first. When I sit down with someone, obviously I want to go over their finances first, where they're at, and then also, we run their credit. I mean, why is that important? Well, credit history is crucial. I mean, if you have good credit, typically that means you pay your bills on time. Banks like to see that. Secondly, we talk about running credit, then it's income. What do you do for work? And, this is kind of a loaded question. I imagine, Amelia, you see people in all different trades and industries. And, obviously you have some self-employed borrowers. You might have someone that's a traditional salary, people that are maybe working, a 1099, which is, kind of working for themselves. So, I mean, there's different ways of making income, but what you show and what you make are two different things.
That's right.
And so in this market, looking at their tax returns if they're self-employed, looking at their W-2s if they have a salary job, making sure their income is consistent. When I give a pre-approval, I go through the income, I collect all the proper documents we talked about, tax returns, pay stubs, and then also I look at bank statements. We talk about, where's your down payment coming from? "Oh, well, I have money in this account." Okay, well, actually I have cash. Well, I mean, cash isn't always something we can source. So now we have to figure out, can we get gift funds? Can we get money from a retirement account? Can we get money from maybe a significant other that is on a joint account with you? So, these are all things that we look into. I mean, in your opinion, I would think that you as an advisor would like to have a lender that's thorough because when that offer is being put in, it's going to get to the closing table. And part of what I do is when I ask the questions like, "Oh, you're a first-time home buyer." Okay, there are many programs out there, of course, but let's figure out what makes sense for you because we talk about down payments. Every program has different down payment requirements. Now, as first-time home buyer, they're a little more lax, of course, but if you're a conventional, it's 3% down. But at the end of the day, some people don't realize that. They think conventional, 20% down it has to be.
Yeah.
Only 3% down, but there's some stigma with 20% down conventional. That's what always was thought. Whereas FHA is 3.5%. So while FHA is a great option for certain clients, if you have a high credit score, why wouldn't you consider conventional with less money down and arguably could be considered a stronger offer? And something else to keep in mind, like FHA, I'm not bad-mouthing by any means. It's a great program, the right client, ideal. But, conventional right now trumps most of those offers, but also with multifamilies. The old days, FHA 3.5% down. That was the norm. And now conventional allows 5% down. So at the end of the day, a conventional offer on a multifamily home, a lot of times it will trump the FHA because the appraisal requirements. Also with the rental income they use, there's different formulas that we use with conventional. So my point is, I can get someone with 5% down. Hey, you know what? It's 1.5% down more, but there's a better chance your offer is going to be accepted. And also with the rents, there's something called a self-sufficiency test, where if you have a 3 or 4 unit with FHA, basically the rent, they take 75% of the total rent of the property. If that isn't more than what the mortgage will be, it automatically fails. Whereas conventional doesn't have that rule. In this market where prices are higher, and rates are here higher, having, the ability to not worry about, things, rental income covering mortgages, that's something, it's one less thing to worry about in your offer. And I think that a good listing advisor will realize that, and they'll take a conventional loan offer over an FHA, especially on a multifamily home.